Here we go. It's time for the RotoWire Rundown. We've got the Ryder Cup in the rearview mirror. It's myself, Keith Stewart from Read the Line, and of course, my counterpart in crime, Mr. Len Hochberg, the senior golf writer over at RotoWire. Len, the European team, your pick. Congratulations. You were right. I was wrong. Little did I know that you also have to handicap the captains as well as the players in order to figure out who's going to win one of these things. But overall, when you start to look at the 44th Ryder Cup matches over there in Rome, give me one positive takeaway that you have from the whole event.
Well, we've got 16 and a half, 11 and a half sounds enormous, but you can probably find 4, 5, or 6 shots that turned the whole Ryder Cup. I mean, there were a couple of matches on Sunday that were tied. You flip those and, one shot here, then you're at 14 and a half, whatever it is, 12 and a half, or that's not right, but you get my point. So yeah. I think, we just think it's all doom and gloom and stuff. And playing at Bethpage, that could have easily flipped the other way. Look, I think Zach Johnson, his legacy will not be good over this Ryder Cup, but I thought he made the right captain's picks. So I think he was a pretty good GM. I just don't think he was a very good coach, and you have to be both to be a Ryder Cup captain.
All right, well, we'll get to the bad in a minute. My good, I'm going to go with Max Homa. I think for sure that's now 2 international teams in a row where he stood out as the American MVP in many ways. So congratulations to him. And I guess the second thing I'd have to say, if I could squeeze one more in, is that Captain Luke Donald, and you just touched upon Zach Johnson, Captain Luke Donald was, I think the proof is that the players want him to do it again. And I think that he was really somebody who was kind of vanilla for most of his golf career. Now, granted, I know he was number 1 in the world on the DP World and the PGA Tour money list at one point. But, for me, never really quite the guy you got to know. And he really stood out. Even from the opening ceremony speeches, he really outdid it over Zach Johnson. And that's going to be my negative takeaway from this event. To me, Zach Johnson did not pass the test whatsoever. From the pairings to the preparation, I just don't get it. And besides Zach, what's your negative takeaway from the Ryder Cup?
Yeah, not playing for 5 weeks. Most of the guys, I think that was a fair criticism. Only 3 of the American 12 had played since the Tour Championship, and all the European Ryder Cuppers were in form, or at least they had been playing to get a chance to get into form. That was huge. And I think, Luke Donald, configured his pairings better. And just to piggyback what you said on Max Homa, you're right. He is certainly a plus. And he's always talked about self-confidence issues. If this doesn't give him confidence to perform better in the majors, well, then nothing will.
Yeah, I just, the lack of preparation on Zach's side of things, the Saturday afternoon 4-ball pairings, they put together like Cantley and Clark, and they had never played a practice round together during that week. I don't know. To me, arbitrary gets frustrating, and I understand where the U.S. fans are coming from, and certainly the Sharks are out. It's not our job on the rundown to go through who gets paid and who doesn't, but at the end of the day, I tell you, it's not the most positive repercussions from the Ryder Cup. So I tell you what, speaking of 5 weeks off, a lot of players have had 5 weeks off or more, but we got to restart the FedEx Fall Cup because we got to figure out who gets their card for the 2024 season. So we're off to the Sanderson Farms Championship. And when you started to break this down for RotoWire and you're looking at the golf course, right, what are some of the skills and or factors that you're favoring in your editorials?
Yeah, well, the course is not that long, so I like the fact that it lets some of the shorter hitters come into the conversation this week. I always like the courses like that, where you just sort of don't eliminate half the field from having a true shot at winning. So I do like that. And what we've seen historically at the Country Club of Jackson is just ball striking, just get from tee to green. You just see the guys Like last year, Mackenzie Hughes beat Sepp Straka in a playoff. Sam Burns the year before. Sergio Garcia the year before that. Burns and Garcia were just striking the ball, striping the ball, and were just brilliant from tee to green. So that is, and then a few years before that, we saw some great putters win the tournament as well. Peter Malnati, even Cody Gribble, who's a pretty good putter, or was at the time, putted well. And even Cameron Champ, when he won the tournament, putted very well, and he's not a very good putter. So I'm, looking for the guys who can get the ball on the green and guys who can put, get the ball in the hole. It sort of sounds like every week, but the stats really align very closely to that over the years.
Well, the Country Club at Jackson has hosted this event since 2014. So we have 9 editions of history to look at. And where everyone is pointing towards, keep the ball in the fairway with off the tee play and approach buckets, or, their wedges are 125 to 175. You brought it up right there. You ended your commentary with it. The largest of the major categories in strokes gained, average against the field was with the putter. So, all these guys are great with a wedge. So yes, they're all going to hit it in close proximity to the hole, but who is going to putt well on that Bermuda grass? I mean, that grass is like a weed. So yeah, it's very unpredictable from the rough. Keep it in the fairway, but the leaders will do that. What's going to be that fine line that really dictates on Sunday afternoon? And to me, it's going to be the putter. I mean, the last 9 winners there at Country Club of Jackson, they've gained an average of over 6 strokes against the field with the flat stick. And to me, that's the differentiating factor. And that's what's going to separate the type of guys that you're definitely playing in DFS and the guys that I'm betting in order to win. So let's transition real quick. I know you've done your write-up. It's Tuesday by now. You're deep into your research for this. Who are you at some different levels playing this week in your DFS lineups?
I think it's great that Ludwig Aber, different pronunciations during the week as the Ryder Cup went on. I think it's fantastic that he's there. It's quite a coup for the the Sanderson Farms people. But I'm not going to play him. It's just a little bit too much to ask from Sunday night and probably into Monday morning partying in Italy to getting to Mississippi. But I give him kudos for honoring his commitment. But he is the top price guy in the DraftKings board. But a little bit lower down, Eric Cole and Emiliano Grillo are in the 10,000s. Emiliano Grillo, great ball striker, as we know. He became a much better putter earlier this year. He got to win at the Charles Schwab. I like him. Moving down a little bit, Tom Hoge, one of the issues this week is guys have not been playing. Even the Fortinet was now 3 weeks ago. But Tom Hoge was over in Europe. He played the Irish Open. He played Wentworth. He's been pretty busy. He's one of the 2 top 50s in the entire field. He's $8,600. But I could really see a case for a balanced lineup this week with Grayson Sigg and Dylan Wu and Hayden Buckley and Callum Tarrant. But if you really got to dip down into the 6s, guys I'm looking at are Russell Knox, Henrik Norlander, and Kelly Craft, who we probably talked about him at the Fortinet, and he had a top 25 there.
Yeah, I think a balanced lineup makes perfect sense because from a betting perspective, 8 of the last 9 winners had pre-tournament odds of plus 5,500 or more. That's 55 to 1. So this is definitely a place where you can make some money, or, if you pick the right bomb, these long shots have taken advantage of some of these favorites over the years. For me, right in that middle tier range, right around plus 5,000, you've got a guy like Sam Ryder. It's been striking the ball great, and the putter has been okay. Davis Thompson, he's another one. I like the way that he turned it around since May. His summer was pretty good, and I feel like he's always been one of those young superstars that hasn't really stepped up yet. And this is a place at the Sanderson Farms where that tends to happen. But if you give me one shot or one pick, I think it's time for Doug Gim to win. The Texas star, he's definitely one of those guys that ball striking wise, since the summertime, he's been real impressive, Len. And he gained almost 3 strokes with the putter, which is unheard of for him at the Fortinet. So if the planets are aligning, and, he's definitely one of those guys that has managed to keep his ball striking from July through October, I think it could be his time. And he's sitting right there again at that plus 5,000 number where We can make some money, but you also feel good about the fact that I'm not playing a guy at 100-1 to try and win, and it feels like a true long shot. So for me, I'm going with Gim. And of course, every week, Len, I'm going with you when it comes to the RotoWire Rundown. Next week, guess where I'm going? I'm going out to Vegas. So I'm going to be at the front lines. I'll be coming to you from the media center. I can't wait to reconnect with you. Any last words of wisdom for the Sanderson Farms?
There's a lot of youth. There's a lot of youth there this week. 4 of the top 5 guys in the PGA Tour University standings are in the field. Besides Hebert, Fred Biondi from Florida, the NCAA individual championship, Sam Bennett, who we got to see a little bit. I think a lot of the future of the PGA Tour is going to be on display this week.
Sam Bennett could be a star. I saw Ross Steelman as well from Georgia Tech. That's a great point. You know what? If you're always looking for great points, catch us on the RotoWire Rundown every week. You know what, folks? We'll see you after the Sanderson Farms Championship.